It was supposed to be a quick trip, just a day trip to visit our parents. Every month, me and my brother Lucas would come up and do a sort of monthly check-in with our parents, a couple hours at most, short, sweet, and to the point. I know it sounds harsh, but me and my brother could never stay for too long. We've always hated it there ever since we were kids, so as soon as we turned 18, we both moved out and went our separate ways. Our parents understood, they even encouraged it. Our small town didn't have much going for it. Our monthly visits were always the exact same. I'd be the first to arrive, right around noon, just in time for lunch. Our mom would make her homemade shepherd's pie, and oh God, it was delicious. She was a real chef in the kitchen. After lunch, I'd take Buddy, the family dog, out for a quick walk. Then, fashionably late like always, Lucas would arrive. We'd chat, catch up, then we'd both play a board game or two with the old man, and then bada bing, bada boom, we'd leave. Short, sweet, and to the point. That's how it should have gone. I was arriving at my parents' house at noon as always, ready for lunch, but as I turned the corner to my parents' street, I saw all the neighbors standing outside on their porches with wide smiles, waving at me as I drove down the road. It was definitely weird, but then again, it was a really small town and my parents were close with everyone. I thought maybe my mom had ranted about us coming to visit today. I don't know. I pull into the driveway, and just like the neighbors, my parents are standing out on the front porch, smiling, watching me pull in. I put my car in park, and as I reach for the car door, I'm overcome by this sense of dread, of this sense of urgency, of that I need to leave immediately. But I brush it off because, like I said, every time I'm here, I always want to leave. I swing open the door and I hear my mother's voice creeping in. I step out and I hear her with a warm smile say, "Welcome home, sweetheart." I was just about to ask what was up with the neighbors, but was interrupted. "You're late," she says. I take a look at my phone. It's 12:34. I let out a little laugh because I remember I told her I would arrive at 12:30. So technically, yes, I was late, but only by 4 minutes. "It's 12:34, I said. They both just stared at me in silence for what felt like forever. I was about to break the silence, but then my mother said, "Well, come on in. Lunch is ready. I made your favorite, shepherd's pie." I take a quick glance back at my car and I clear my throat. Making my way inside, I see that the house is so dark. All the curtains were sealed up tight, only letting in slight rays of sunlight that seeped through the cracks. "Whoa, is Dracula visiting? It's so dark in here," I joked. "Oh, is it? We haven't noticed. Here, let's open up the living room curtain, shall we?" my mother said while making her way to the window and violently swinging them open, causing a loud screech across the curtain rail. "Better, dear?" my mother said with a slight passive-aggressive undertone. Yeah, much better, thanks," I said with a slight uneasiness to my voice. I sat my purse down and made my way to the dinner table. My father takes a seat at the head of the table, and I sit in the middle. My mother scurries off to the kitchen to bring off shepherd's pie. As she brings out the pie, I was taken aback by this awful smell that was emanating off of it. I look straight to my father to see if he's just as taken aback as me, but I see him licking his lips and slightly bouncing up and down from excitement, his knife and fork in hand ready to dig in at any moment. I let out a small awkward chuckle as my mom walks around and places a small slice of pie on my father's plate. He goes in to dig in immediately, but my mother quickly, violently slaps his hand. Not until we say grace," she says. My father pouted like a child. It was so strange. I've never seen him act this way. She then serves me a slice, then herself, before ultimately taking a seat at the opposite end of the table. Bowing her head, she begins to say grace. All the while, my father was drooling and nodding impatiently with the words that flowed from my mother. "I want to give Thanks for Violet, for her coming home. We missed her so much. We hope that she stays a while this time and doesn't scurry on off." And with a shift in tone, she says, "and doesn't abandon us like trash." My jaw dropped from the choice of her words. I looked to my father to see his reaction, but all I see is that he's still nodding impatiently with every word she speaks. But now drool is dripping down his chin and onto his food. "Amen," she concludes. And without skipping a beat, my father started digging into his food like a pig, letting out slight growls of hunger with every bite. I was completely petrified by this sight. It was disgusting. "Well, dig in," my mother said, with eyes locked on me as she began eating too. I looked down at my plate and I couldn't help but let out a small gag. The smell was revolting. "Go on," my mother said with piercing eyes. I take another look at my food. The food didn't look bad, and in fact, it looked perfect. So I slowly picked up my fork, thinking to myself that maybe it tastes better than it smells. As I slowly took a bite, the taste of rotten meat immediately makes me spit it out, coughing and gagging all over my plate, and I slowly pull out a strand of hair from my mouth. My mother slammed her hand on the dinner table with a mouthful of food and yelled, "Young lady, you will not leave this table until you finish your plate." My heart was hammering in my chest, my breath heavy as I clung to the table as if it was a safety net. Panic-stricken, I froze. She just stared at me with a blank face for a few seconds, eyes wide as ever. And then all of a sudden, she completely switched. She gave a gentle smile with a soft motherly tone. She said, "Oh my, it seems I may have messed up the recipe." And as if it was the funniest thing she has ever said, my father burst out laughing, mouth full of food, spitting it all across the table. "That's okay. I'm actually not that hungry. I'm just gonna take Buddy on a walk." My words caused my father to abruptly stop in his tracks. "Buddy?" my mother asks, as if she's never heard the name. My father then begins barking. "Oh, Buddy. Yes, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart, but Buddy ran away." "What? When?" I asked. "A few nights ago. He hasn't been back since. Maybe you could play a game with your father instead." Her words caused my father to jump up from his seat. Yes, a game. I want to play a game," he said, as if he bounced up and down like an overjoyed child on Christmas. The sight made my blood run cold. It was unsettling. He ran straight to the living room, pulling out all kinds of board games. I need bathroom." I fumbling at my words. I excused myself, making a break for the bathroom and locking the door behind me. I don't know what's going on with my parents. I don't know if they have gone mad or if they're on drugs. All I know is that they're not normal and I need to get the hell out of here. I quickly reach in my pocket for my phone to call my brother to warn him, but to my surprise, my phone's dead. After a few minutes, I gather myself together and I come up with a simple excuse to leave. I take a deep breath in and I open the door to the bathroom and I let out a yelp as I come face to face with my mother. She had been standing right outside the bathroom door waiting for me, and behind her was my father with a handful of board games, still jumping and smiling like an excited toddler on Christmas. "Everything all right, dear?" my mother said with her head tilted to the side. "I'm sorry, I have to go. I forgot I made plans with some friends." My words caused my father to angrily drop all the board games and walk away stomping like a toddler throwing a tantrum. "But it's so soon. No. You have to stay for a little while longer. Your brother should be arriving shortly," my mother said. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm really sorry. I really got to get going." Pushing past my mother as I cut through the kitchen, something caught my attention from the corner of my eye. And that's when I saw Buddy's collar on the cutting board covered in blood and dog hair all over the kitchen counter. I immediately knew and I started gagging. I ran through the living room, grabbing my bag off the couch with a quick swipe, my breath heavy as I pushed open the front door. But I slowed in my tracks as I took a look around outside and saw all my neighbors still outside, standing on their front porch. It was as if they hadn't moved. They were all just staring at me with blank faces. I hear my parents call out to me. I quickly run to my car, get in, and lock the door. I frantically fidget in my purse looking for my keys. Then my stomach drops and I freeze as I hear my keys jingle, but it's not coming from my bag. As I slowly turn my head to the side, I see my father outside the window, dangling my keys. He unlocks my car and slowly opens the door. My mother's standing on the porch and says, "Why don't you come back inside, sweetheart? Have some more pie. Your brother should be arriving shortly. Then we'll all be one big happy family again." Quiet tears streaming down my face as I step out of the car, taking small steps back inside. The only thing running through my head is, I hope my brother doesn't come home. Good night, sweetheart.